Laughing, hoping that I get signed. Now I own my own tracks, riding waves of the hypermind. Popular and dirt poor broke, that ain't my type of grind. If I got started.
So hello, welcome to 3CountCommentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. I have been up since 4:40 a.m. It is now 12:50 a.m. the next day. My eyes are red like fire. I am just bone dry through and through. But I'm going to push through because I already know if I go to sleep, 90% of anything I'm going to say is going to evaporate into thin air. I'm going to wake up the next day and not even remember half this show. So I got to go through AEW Double or Nothing, May 29th, 2022, the marathon show. I feel like I deserve a medal for making it through this show. We all deserve medals for sitting through this show live. I feel like I should get like a silver medal or something, a cup or something, a participation award. I feel like I was part of this thing. I feel like I worked on this thing. This show is so damn long. We used to bitch about WrestleMania being too long. This show was long on purpose. They added 2 more matches to this show on Friday. Why? Look, I'm not going to go into that. Let's just get into the show. Alright, Hookhausen defeat Mark Sterling and Tony Nese. Who cares? Moving on. MJF versus Wardlow. Everybody's running about saying that MJF was going to no-show this event. Nobody of any reputable quality said that MJF was going to skip this show. He did skip the meet and greet for reasons unknown. I'm pretty sure somebody knows. Maybe Tony Khan knows. But it was not a work. I know a lot of people think it was a work. He showed up at this show. That meant it was a work. No. What we don't know is what happened between the time he no-showed that meet and greet and showed up on Double or Nothing. And they put them out there first to get it out of the way. And guess what? Him no-showing that meet and greet was not mentioned at all. If it was a work, wouldn't they have mentioned it? Wouldn't they have used that? Will MJF even be here tonight? They would have said something like that. No. MJF was the first person to come out of the chute after the cold open. MJF was the first person to come out of the chute. It was never in question that he was going to skip Double or Nothing. Tell you this. And because he knows it, and we're not stupid. He's not stupid. He was damaging his brand by being the guy who skips out on his engagements. That's the thing about doing this stuff. See, you can do it with WWE. You can skip out on your engagements and everybody will feel bad for you because, WWE, the Fed bad, creative bad, Vince bad, everybody bad. Therefore, anything you do, they will turn a blind eye to and say, well, it's probably some Stanford stuff. But it doesn't work the other way around. If you have a bad reputation in other companies, WWE will be peeping out for it. Which is why they did what they did to Austin Aries. They put him in the cruiserweight division and just let him flame himself out. That's why they haven't hired Tessa Blanchard. They will stay away from people who have bad reputations. If MJF would have been the kind of guy who would have skipped Double or Nothing, Vince probably would have been like, look, we can't trust this guy. Now, this doesn't mean that Vince hasn't paid dues to skip these shows. We know that he has. He gave Hulk Hogan some cash. I think he gave Junkyard Dog some cash to skip some shows. But that's Vince telling you, hey, don't go to that show. I'll pay you more not to go. You're an independent contractor. You can say, no, I'm not going. It is what it is. Now they got contracts. That was back in the days of the territories where there was a handshake deal. Vince McMahon is the guy who killed the handshake deal. You can't do handshake deals anymore. You got to have some paperwork. So MJF was likely called on the phone and probably told, hey, if you want WWE to be in any way interested in what you're doing, you need to go and do what you're supposed to do. Go finish your engagement, and then we'll talk about it whenever. And then maybe he had a conversation with Tony Khan as well. But it's common sense. You don't want to be the guy that walks out on meet and greets, walks out on fans, a paid engagement at that, because they get paid for meet and greets. And the fans were going to be refunded. So AEW actually probably lost a little bit of money on that thing. I'm sorry. It being a work doesn't make any sense. They didn't make any money off of that. What money could they make off of it? They didn't even mention it. But, they were talking about whether he was going to show up. AEW wasn't. All of their tentacles in the media probably was, but AEW had no problem. There was no question at all, at least from my perspective, whether he was going to be there or not. I knew he was going to be there. He'd have been a fool not to show up. Especially if he think he's about to get the big payday he feel like he's earned. Now, I'm not saying he didn't probably Jeff Jarrett that whole thing, or Ultimate Warrior it and say, hey, I want X amount of cash to show up. Maybe he did. I wouldn't doubt it he did. But I knew he was going to be on that screen, and everybody who was, fretting like, I don't even know he's going to. I was like, yeah, you worried about the wrong thing, dog. I knew he was going to go. I knew he was going to show it up. Let's get into the match. Match was simple. MJF got almost no offense. Everything that all his usual tricks fall apart. He hides and runs. He plays keep away for a little while, just stays away from Wardlow. His Dynamite Diamond Ring gets taken as he tries to use it. Then he suffers an embarrassing 10 power bombs, foot on the chest, finish. Actually, very well done. Crowd was super hot for this. To be quite honest, this was the right thing to do. And this also tells me that, there's probably some legitimate heat there. They didn't let him get any offense in. Now, he did get to do some character work where he says, like, I'll double it. I'll double what I was paying you before, to leave me alone, and all this kind of stuff. And Wardlow was like, nah, I got you where I want you now, baby. And that was the good stuff, was the stuff in between the moves that Wardlow was doing. The shrugging and when he took the foot off the chest after the first couple of power bombs, and he's like, "No, we're gonna punish him. We gonna punish him." It was the right move, absolutely the right move. And I can tell you right now, if WWE was looking at both Wardlow and MJF, then no doubt he probably got a text message or something that was probably said, "Hey, that's our guy's big moment. You better come on." I'm not saying they're gonna poach Wardlow. I'm not saying that they're not either. But I'm pretty sure they wanted to, let them play that out. But if you're Tony Khan, what do you do? It's embarrassing that this guy didn't show up at the meet and greet, but at least he did the pay-per-view. I think you still levy some type of suspension at him. They did the stretcher spot, which, is going to explain why MJF is not going to be around for a while. Of course, it was horribly botched that somebody put a breathing machine over his eyeballs and not his mouth. Have you ever even seen one of these things used before? I understand not being a medical professional and, maybe doing something a little bit wrong, but what about that contraption that, goes over the nose and mouth? Have you had it in your hand and just said, you know what? I'm going to put this over the eyes and forehead. Why? Why would you do such a thing? That's retarded. All right. I shudder to use that word, because I know how people feel about it. But that's just straight up retarded. All right. You're retarded if you did that. A child could have figured it out. That's like finding a square block and a square hole. You could have figured it out just from looking at it, that it goes over the nose and mouth. It's attached to a breathing machine. Do you breathe out of your eyes? Where do they find these guys? What flea market did they get this guy out of? Anyway, MJF did the right thing. The booking was right. They didn't have a real match. It was a squash. Right decision. After the match, Wardlow is all elite. They brutalized this all elite thing tonight. I mean, they all elite the fuck out of this show, man. My God. It was all elites all over the place. Alright, so Wardlow is officially on the roster. Officially. Right decision. Now, what do we do? Alright, we got MJF out of the picture. Wardlow's by himself. Now, what do we do? We're in a Hook situation now, where Hook, got to a certain point, and then everybody was kind of like, oh yeah, Hook, he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. What are they going to do with him? And he just kind of was like, we could have put him in a title picture. We could, put him in a feud, and then he just decided, you know what, let's just put him over here in a comedy segment. And so now he's doing comedy stuff over there in the corner. He's going to eventually cool off. They're just going to put him over there for a minute. What are they going to do with Wardlow? Spoiler alert, they just switched the title. So you're not going to put the belt on him. Probably not going to put the TNT belt on him, not right now anyway. So what are you going to do with him? What other feuds you got planned? There's no pinnacle for him to feud with. Is he going to feud with Jericho? Who is he going to feud with? Who are you going to pair him up with that's going to maintain his heat? I don't know. That's a good question. That's the question you ask Booker of the Year. Right? All right, match 2, the Young Bucks versus the Hardys in what was essentially Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels tag team match. There was just so many tributes going throughout this show. It was absolutely disgusting. The Young Bucks had a Viva Las Vegas parody called the Super Kick Party. They were dressed like Elvis. It was nonsense. It reminded me of when Scott Hall and Kevin Nash showed up in TNA dressed like Elvis, and they were doing it, mocking TNA. I think they were also in Las Vegas for that, weren't they? Oh no, they was in Nashville. That's where they was doing it. They was doing it because they was in Memphis or something like that. Wherever, I'm about to call him Honky Tonk Man. Wherever Elvis is from, that should tell you what I think. I'm one of those, super nerds. I don't even think Elvis existed. I just be like, oh, it's the Honky Tonk Man. Elvis is trying to be like him. Anyway, Caprice Coleman was on commentary for this match, which is really good. 90% of this match was the Young Bucks just doing Young Bucks stuff, which is super kicking people. The Hardys just absorbed a lot of punishment. When it came time for the Hardys to actually do their stuff, they were not very good at it. I mean, Jeff could barely climb the top rope. I mean, he was down bad. I don't know what happened to Jeff, but him not being able to really get Whisper Whisper in the Wind. Yes, that's what it is. The little back flipping thing he do. I can't believe he couldn't get his foot on that top rope. And I'm like, please, Jeff, don't fall. Please don't fall. He finally got it up there and was able to do it. And these guys are in their mid-40s, and he's still doing swantons on steps. I mean, thank God he didn't hit the steps this time. Somebody was there. I said before that I envisioned the Hardys winning and the Jurassic Express winning, so that those two things can coincide when you have the Hardys versus Christian. And guess what happened tonight? The Hardys won, Jurassic Express won. So I think I know where we're going. This was nothing to this match. It wasn't a big match that everybody thought it was going to be. To me, it was just It was nowhere near the match that the Hardy Boys used to be able to have. It's pretty clear that they're washed and hung out to dry. Jeff jumped into the crowd again and shook hands and everything, and everybody was like, okay, Jeff, good. I guess that's just a thing he wants to do now. Apparently that's just a part of his thing. He just wants to do that. They did a skit with the Gun Club and the Acclaimed, a sort of hangover style thing where they were young boys out on the town in Las Vegas, and then they ended up sleeping in weird positions with no girls. It's like all guys just laying out all over the place. It's like, no girls? There's no girls here. Even the gay one should be able to have a girlfriend. I mean, even Forrest Gump had a scene where he was, you got a chick. What the hell's going on here? Speaking of chicks, Jade Cargill versus Anna Jay was next. This match didn't need to happen. Not on this card anyway. They could have pushed this to Rampage next week. I thought they were burlesque dancers. I really did. I was like, why do they have burlesque dancers for Jade Cargill? And somebody was like, they're showgirls. And I was like, oh, showgirls. Right. Are they drag queens? I'm telling you, man, I was absolutely paranoid that they were drag queens. And I was like, all right, I'm just not going to say anything on the subject. And just say, look, whatever. So Jade Cargill got a special interest. Anna Jay had a throwback to her original gimmick, which was the star of the show. Remember that they signed Anna Jay when she only had like 2 or 3 matches under her belt. She's essentially a Divas wrestler. Again, Anna Jay is like, if WWE had signed somebody like Anna Jay, who only had like 2 or 3 matches, was like 22 years old, with like 2 or 3 matches under her belt, but everybody thought she was hot, WWE would, people would be bitching. Like they do, like right now. WWE signed some girl, she's 19, 20 years old, but she looks great. And everybody's like, oh, WWE only hires people for their looks. Anna Jay is only here because of her looks. She had almost no experience at all when they signed her. And she still has virtually no experience. And this match was a goddamn mess. This match did not need to be on this show. This match was rough to watch. I'm talking rough. There was a couple of parts in this match where I thought Jade Cargill had broken a wrist or, you know, a knee had been in her throat or something like that. It was crazy. We get the obligatory interference as Mark Sterling came to the ring with a crutch. He threw it in the ring for some reason. I guess he was trying to throw it to Jade. And Jade gets it, Russian leg sweep, 2 count. Jade Cargill kicks out. Her hair looked like a pack of non-leaders, by the way. And then you had, which is the AKA's colors, the pink and green. AKA's are a female sorority, black sorority. Very stuck up at the AKAs. No offense, young ladies, but they are. Anyway, Stokely Hathaway, former Malcolm Bivens, comes down to ringside, and he sort of distracts Anna Jay as Anna Jay's on the top rope. We get the top rope, Jaded, 1, 2, 3. Thankfully, this car crash is over. The baddie section, they jump in the ring. They're going to beat up Anna Jay for being an absolute goober. Chris Statlander runs to the ring to protect the puppy Anna Jay. And as they're doing that, Athena makes her debut. She comes down to the ring to side with Chris Statlander and and Anna Jay. And I'm just saying to myself, like, all these people just hanging out backstage. We're acting like we've never seen any of these people before. Like, it's one thing to have one debut, but when you have so many people, like, back to back to back, it loses its punch. You know, like, they just did this, right? They just did this with Adam Cole and, you know, Bryan Danielson. It inevitably takes the steam out of one or all of them when you just have so many people coming in at the same time. So Stokely Hathaway, good promo guy. He's going to be the manager for Jade Cargill. Right decision. Absolutely the right decision. He's a good talker. He is a guy who is friends with the Young Bucks and all of those guys. Worked with them in the independents. It's a perfect fit. You know, he's a good voice for them. Athena is another great fit. Great wrestler, but no personality. You know, used to work in WWE. She checks all the boxes. Black, female, used to work in WWE, no personality. She fits right in. You know, I thought they'd assigned her long ago. To be quite honest, she should have been wrestling Jade Cargill on this show. Now I'm kind of confused, kind of conflicted, because we're looking at Jade Cargill and her title run is about to end, probably at some point soon. But then the question is, who did she lose it to? Did she lose it to Chris Statlander, an AEW original? Or did she lose it to Athena, somebody who just came in? Now, if Jade Cargill loses to Athena, people are going to bitch and cry that, you know, they're only putting over WWE talent, ex-WWE talent. If she beats Athena, then Athena is dead. All right, period. It happened to Ruby Soho. It happened to Toni Storm. If they beat Athena, she's dead. It's going to have a very difficult time getting over after that. Hopefully she doesn't tear an MCL or bust up a patella or something like that, and she's able to stay healthy. I'm really just I'm going to pray for baby girl's hamstrings and everything, that she don't tear everything up or, you know, blow out her Achilles heel or something like that again, and that she can stay healthy. You know, I need this for her. I think this is good for her, to be quite honest. I've been saying this for a while. She should be in AEW. And I've been calling for the match between Athena and Jade Cargill for a long time. So I'm not against this. I just think that, you know, we shouldn't have stacked the introductions like this. You know, so it is what it is. They're building up the 6-woman tag. I think this is a bad usage of Athena. You just should have. Again, sometimes we don't need a surprise. Sometimes you can just debut people. You know, you can just say AEW has signed so-and-so, or you could do vignettes. Why can't we do vignettes anymore? Why can't we build to something? Fuck. Jade Cargill is in a situation where she's basically got an open challenge, you know, for her TBS title. Why can't we do vignettes building up to, you know, Jade Cargill saying that, you know, nobody can beat her. She's beaten people 2 or 3 times or whatever. And the baddie section is stronger than ever, yada, yada, yada. And then we start doing vignettes leading up to Athena's debut, you know, and everybody who knows who she is will be like, oh shit, now Jade's got a real challenger, you know, then that'll build some anticipation. You know, this is just, hey, look, we got a new toy, and we're going to use this new toy a couple of times, and then, you know, then what? Look at Ruby Soho. Then what? And people were, I can't wait till we get there. Because people were so bought in. It was so embarrassing. It was embarrassing because a lot of these people are marks. So it's super embarrassing. I don't mean marks in a traditional sense. I mean media. I've watched a lot of wrestling for 40 plus years, marks. And it's awful. Ugh. Got some of the worst takes possible. Anyway, Athena being there, good. Stokely Hathaway, good. Neither one of them are going to be game changers. And because there are no game changers. There's only game changing creative. Until the creative changes, which it actually might now, this thing is going to be an absolute disaster. All right, fourth match. House of Black versus Death Triangle. Who cares about this? There's no stakes. It's all action, no story, no stakes, nothing matters. It's just a bunch of guys doing flips. They finished the match by the lights going out. Lights come back on. Julia Hart, or they call her Gulia. Spit black mist in Pac's face. Black mask, 1, 2, 3. They're finally paying off the Julia Hart angle. And I say, who the hell cares? She should have turned a month ago. Who cares? She has no connection to Death Triangle. Outside of Death Triangle. Oh, Death Triangle helped the Varsity Blondes. What was this? A month ago? So what? She should have turned on her boys. And that should have been a long time ago. You know, and for somebody who, again, young talent, almost no experience. I don't think I've ever heard her talk, let alone cut out like a real promo. I don't know what this character is because I'm not sure what the House of Black is. They aren't featured enough. And that's the real big issue here is we got House of Black. They talk in riddles all the time. But we don't know what the mission is. We don't know what the point of this is. They're in matches that seemingly serve no real purpose. For the purpose of winning matches? I don't know. Like, you know, they're not chasing championships. They're not really going after power or glory or anything like that. So what is the point of all this? You know, I don't know. So this was just an athletic endeavor, as Stone Cold Steve Austin called it. Better off put on Dynamite. This is the second match that we could have just put on Dynamite or Rampage or something like that and nobody would have noticed. Fifth match, Owen Hart Finals, Samoa Joe defeated by Adam Cole. Cole was wearing pink, the trademark Hart colors, which led me to believe that he was going to win. Bobby Fish interfered in the match to give Adam Cole the victory. Interesting decision that was. Sixth match, Britt Baker defeats Ruby Soho. They gave a live guitarist for Britt Baker. It was Rich Ward of Fozzy. So one of Chris Jericho's buddies got a nice little payday out of this thing. I mean, Tony Khan should just wake up one day and be like, how many of you guys have suggested to me to hire your friends or relatives for this thing? Just people you know. And, you know, you're not bringing your best. You know, I'm not saying this guy was a bad guitarist. I'm saying you probably could have done better. Rancid plays Ruby Soho to the ring. They played the entire song. I'm sorry. I grew up. I listened to a little bit of rock music. You know, I know a little bit of AC/DC, a little bit of Black Keys. You know, I know a little bit of Green Day. Unfortunately, I know a little bit of Metallica. You know, I know a little bit of Led Zeppelin. I have no fucking idea who Rancid is. I never even fucking heard of Rancid. I'm just not white enough. I just don't understand. I don't know Rancid. This was beyond the pale for me. And everybody's like, oh my God, Rancid is playing for Ruby Soho. Oh, she's going to win. Oh, she's got to win now. Clearly, she wasn't going to win. Come on. Are you serious? Britt Baker was also wearing pink. And when you saw, I mean, Adam Cole winning sort of spoiled this match too, right? So, Ruby Soho had on the back of her jacket, enough is enough and it's time for a change, which was a nice little tribute to Owen on the back of her jacket. They had a wrestling match. It was an okay match. Britt Baker wins via stealing the WrestleMania 10 finish, you know, the Bret Hart Owen Hart finish with the counter to the victory roll. And she won clean. So 2 heels win a Memorial Cup. 2 heels win. The point of the Memorial Cup is to honor the person who died. You know, why would a heel be honoring somebody? Come on. Just think about this thing for more than 2 seconds, okay? And yes, this match featured the single worst sharpshooter ever performed by another human being, probably ever on planet Earth. It looked so bad. And I said to myself, you know what? I wouldn't even apply a sharpshooter if it looked that bad. I would just change it to something else. Just put on a Boston Crab. Do something different. Because that sharpshooter looked awful. It was an abomination. You know, if that's what would be your tribute to Owen, I'm sure he was like, what a rib. What an incredible rib. That you can't use a sharpshooter effectively. What an incredible rib. Alright, so Adam Cole and Britt Baker are the homecoming king and queen. And then we got Dr. Martha Hart. She comes out there. She's out there with Tony Khan. It's giving me AAA vibes. If you've never watched AAA wrestling, they do this stuff all the time with memorials. They'll bring the wife, usually the wife of the dead wrestler or the dead promoter out there. She'll say a few words. The wrestlers will hug her, take pictures, and that's pretty much it. She's treated like a beauty queen at a pageant or something like that. That's essentially what Martha was. She was basically at a pageant. You know, she comes out there, she's dressed how she's dressed. She says a few words, completely nondescript stuff, thanking everybody, you know, as far as, she thanked Tony Khan, Chris Jericho, Dark Side of the Ring, Pro Wrestling Tees, and a bunch of other people. Didn't mention the rest of the Hearts at all, of course. And didn't mention Adam Cole or Britt Baker at all. Mainly because I bet she didn't know who was going to win. So she when she wrote her speech, or she didn't care. I doubt Martha watched more than a couple of seconds of this whole tournament. You know, this thing exists for her to make money off of. I hate to put it that way, but that's what it's for. You know, it's a business decision. This ain't Martha liking wrestling all over again. And she comes out there with this completely nondescript. It's like if you were playing a video game and you get to pick who you were, you get to pick your own name and everything, and the computer is talking to you, but it's using completely neutral language. Like, they don't know if you're male or female. They don't know what your name is. They're like, wow, you really got it going on. You know, that kind of thing. Like, I really like your style, player. You know, it's like, she's like, these great athletes. It could be any two people standing there. There's nothing about Adam Cole or Britt Baker that she knows or likes or cares about. Again, I doubt she even watched this shit. She probably just came from whatever she was doing, reading a book or something like that. It was like, oh, it's time for me to go out there and present this cup. I'm like, oh, okay, let's go do that. And then she goes and does it. So, you know, I'm sure she loved the fans chanting Owen. That was great. You had the cups. The cup looked pretty cool. The belts. As soon as I saw the belts, I was like, oh, those are old Calgary North American title belts. And sure enough, they were. Calgary Stampede, a Stampede Wrestling historian, actually posted the original, not the original, I think it's the later stage Stampede Wrestling North American Championship, which is the highest level title in the company. And the Owen Hart Cup titles are a replica of those, kind of, but they're just pink. So, you know, that's the Hart colors. It's pink. So, all right, it's very nice. It was very classy, but it was also very sterile and nondescript. And Adam Cole nor Britt Baker got to say anything. They basically just got to stand there and and let Martha talk, which was, you know, probably the right thing to do. And I just was like, okay, dokie. You know, that was that. Everybody got their nice little catharsis. I don't see how this is going to become a yearly thing where Martha's going to give a yearly speech. Because what else is she going to say outside of saying the same thing she's already said? You know, I was glad that, you know, Owen can finally be, you know, remembered in a way that's meaningful to the fans. Eventually, that catharsis of us finally being able to say goodbye to Owen Hart, eventually that's going to wear off, you know, and the Owen Hart Tournament is just going to become a thing that we do. And that's assuming, of course, AEW lasts long enough, you know, but I'm guessing 2 or 3 of these things and they will stop becoming important. You know, just like the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, it's important the first time you do it, maybe even important the second time. But by the time you do it 3 or 4 times, it's not really all that important anymore. And that's just kind of how it is. You know, because we don't know what this is going to turn into. This is not, these guys don't get title shots, which, and both of them are former contenders for titles anyway. So it was like, I don't know. But I don't think Martha Hart will be doing speech every single year of the Owen Hart Tournament, But this was in the same vein as the sort of Brian Pillman memorial shows that they did in Cincinnati. At least Brian Pillman had a tent pole in Cincinnati, and so much that he lived there for years, and all of his friends were there. Owen Hart just kind of there's some people who knew him in AEW, and some fans who are old enough to remember him, but that's about it. Like he doesn't have any family members that work there or nothing like that. It's just it's like, so it kind of begs the question, like, why not Bruiser Brody? Why stop there? Why not do the Bam Bam Bigelow Memorial Tournament? Why not everybody? Why not Ray Traylor, the Big Boss Man? Why not Rick Rude? Why did it have to be Owen Hart? It's obviously it was Owen Hart for a reason. The Andrew Test Martin Memorial Ladder Match or something like that. Like, why not? Who's going to stop you? That's probably a bad idea. All right, back to this garbage. Scorpio Sky, Ethan Page, and Paige Van Zant versus Sammy Guevara, Kazarian, and Ty Conti. We get more cosplayers as Ty Conti wants to dress like Maleficent, and therefore, Sammy Guevara has to come out and be like a gay dancer from America's Got Talent or some crazy shit like that. Of course, I was begging the question, who the fuck are the heels in this match? Who are the bad guys? Who are we supposed to boo? Because we're booing everybody. Because everybody's a jerk. Scorpio Sky's an asshole. Ethan Page is an asshole. Paige Van Zant, she ain't been around long enough, but she hangs out with assholes, so she's an asshole too. Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti, all they do is kiss and, embarrass themselves. And Kazarian, I'm guessing, is still a babyface. Because he's acting like one in this match. He was disgusted by Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti. I mean, he's been hanging out with them for a long time. He committed robbery with these folks. He broke into America's Top Team, smashed some personal property, and stole some items that are worth more than $10,000 out of a house. That's grand larceny. He committed grand larceny with these two idiots, and now all of a sudden they can't get along long enough to win a tag team match. Come on, bruh. Come on, bruh. This is awful. This is absolutely atrocious. This has no business being on this show. There's another match that shouldn't have been on the show. Another match that was poorly booked because it was heel versus heel. Another match that was stupid because you had two women in this match. Neither one of them could fucking work. Paige Van Zant now, to her credit, she's trying to learn how to pull her punches. So her strikes, like Ronda Rousey's strikes, look absolutely dreadful. Her strikes were dreadful. The rest of her stuff was mediocre to okay. But her strikes were absolutely very terrible, bad. And Ty Conti is not the person to be leading some rookie around. Because Ty Conti really only has, she was in the PC, and she's got over a year in AEW by now. But Ty Conti isn't some ring veteran that can lead you around. Like, she's not that girl. If that's the one thing that AEW, again, needs to understand. You can't just do everything because you saw it on TV. If you were going to do something with Paige Van Zant in this way, what you should have had is a Sherry Martel or somebody like that on the other side who could lead her around. That's what you needed. You either needed somebody like Stephanie in the Ronda Rousey mixed tag match that they had, where Stephanie was no physical threat. So it's all about psychology and Ronda, Stephanie trying to get away from Ronda. It wasn't no wrestling match where they're going to be doing moves to one another because Stephanie has no offense. There's nothing she can do that Ronda can't counter or at least get out of. So it was all about Stephanie being able to play the psychology game. And that makes the match interesting because, it's the minnow running away from the shark the whole match. It's Tom and Jerry the whole night. So you have that, but you also have the Sherry Martel type matches where, she will be leading around the young babyface because she knows what she's doing. In this situation, Ty Conti was trying to play Sherry Martel and she was not good. She's not good enough. She simply doesn't have the experience. So, of course, everything they did looked awful. What did you think it was going to be? Paige VanZant never had a wrestling match before. And Ty Conti is in year, 3 or 4 of her career? And she's only been working regularly for a year and a half. She wasn't even working that often in NXT. So, she's no ring general to be leading Paige VanZant around. Of course, it sucked. And then the booking of the match sucked because you had Kazarian arguing with Sammy and Ty all night. Sammy and Ty doing nothing but kissing and making out. They look ridiculous. I got into it with cage-side seats because they was like, oh, you can be young and gross. I don't see why people don't like Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti. And I was just like, wait a minute. Weren't you a part of that group that when they did that big kissing scene on NXT, you was complaining? There was no, to be young and in love back then. Like, nobody cared, right? It was, this is gratuitous. This is pornography. And now it's like, oh, it's cool because AEW is doing it. Like, come on. My memory ain't that damn long, but I ain't got the memory of a hummingbird. Like, come on now. I'm not stupid. I know you dudes were against the big orgy kiss on NXT. I know you were. And now, Ty Conti and Sammy Guevara are trying to play Edge and Lita and not doing nearly as good of a job. They've been more like jokers doing it. They look stupid. And of course they lost. So it is what it is. Scorpio Sky wins. Who cares? Like, he has no heat. This match didn't really have stakes to it. It's like if they won, then Sammy and Cass can't fend for the TNT title anymore. But it's like, who really wants to see them wrestle for the TNT title again anyway? Nobody. I didn't watch Kazarian wrestle Scott the first time. Spoiler alert, I didn't watch it. Didn't even know it happened. So, probably Rampage, right? Yeah, Rampage. So, I didn't watch it. I did see Scorpio Sky's heel turn afterwards, though, which was stupid because he's still a heel now. And he's now still feuding with heels. This is all stupid. All dumb. Kazarian, to belabor the point, he actually turned on Ty Conti and Sammy Guevara in this match. He turned on them. And then still tried to help them win because, well, his title shot is on the line. So it was stupid. It was a clusterfuffle. All right, match 8, Darby Allin versus Kyle O'Reilly. Another match that didn't need to be on this show. This match had a paper-thin reason to actually occur. It's occurring, for those of you who don't know, because Kyle O'Reilly Pillmanized Sting. That's why this match is happening. They just shoehorned this match on the show. And Darby Allin and Kyle O'Reilly have a fine match that nobody cared about. No real heat, no real story. The crowd wasn't really into it. They kind of fell asleep around this point in time. They fell asleep after the Owen Hart stuff. It was kind of like, we're done here, okay? We're done. And Darby Allin almost killed himself. He jumped through the ropes. I think his leg got caught. And he basically lawn darted himself into the floor. And I was like, oh, baby. I don't know. Why would you do that? And then he went and did it again. This time he got caught and put into a guillotine choke. Very interesting finish there with the guillotine choke. Not a finish, but the counter. Nice, actually. It was a pretty good spot. They did it again with the coffin drop, where Kyle O'Reilly caught the coffin drop and put him in a submission hold there too. Darby Allin is getting punished, penalty kicks. And Kyle O'Reilly wins with the dive-in knee drop from the top rope. And I wrote down, what the fuck happened to Darby Allin? Ever since his CM Punk feud, ever since he lost the TNT title, if we're being honest, this dude has just been pushed off of a cliff. He's the second the third of the 4 pillars that was just completely moved out of the way as the new booties came in. As Punk and Cole and Danielson and all those guys came in, Jungle Boy and Sammy Guevara and MJF, they just fluttered away. MJF was, safe because he still was a heat magnet and people wanted to work with him. But Jungle Boy, he became a tag team guy par excellence. He cannot get out of that tag team for nothing now. And Sammy Guevara has just been a flutter. He's been, who knows what's going to happen with him now. And so we're stuck with this thing. We're stuck here with this. And Darby Allin, to be quite honest, he was their hottest, guy for a while. He was the guy that they were pushing. He came across as he was bulletproof. He was a bulletproof midget. I mean, he was beating Brian Cage and Powerhouse Hobbs and JK. He was beating these guys, giant dudes, surviving all of their offense and beating them. I remember I was talking shit about that, like, wow. But it was getting over. It was working because his stuff looked decent, especially his tope through the ropes. It looked like, he's getting hit in the chest with a bowling ball. Now, Darby Allin is just losing. Why did he lose to Kyle O'Reilly? Why? He's fighting for the virtues of his friend Sting, and he lost. Why? Why did that happen? Why did that occur? I don't know. Can anybody explain that to me? We don't get a good storyline reason for this match happening, and we could have did this on Dynamite, right? Whatever. It's a waste of time, and everybody was bored by it. Thunder Rosa vs. Serena Deeb had an excellent wrestling match. But it's buried in a match where there's just so much shit happening. There's just so much, especially after this, there's just so much nonsense that occurred. But they had a good, clean wrestling match. And I loved the finish. A superplex into the Thunder driver. Great finish. Fine match. There were some botches in this match too, as they botched a backslide. I can't believe they botched a backslide, but they managed to do so. Otherwise, it was a fine, perfectly fine pro wrestling match. I don't have any problems with this. Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa actually did pretty good. All right, match 10. The Blackpool Combat Club plus Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz versus the Jericho Appreciation Society and Anarchy in the Arena. 10-man tag. The only way to win is by pinfall or submission in the ring. They pull a New Jack, another tribute, as they play Jon Moxley's Wild Thing throughout the first 5 or 6 minutes of this match, just in a loop. It got annoying to a point. And then when they stopped playing the music, I started hearing Excalibur, and I was like, no, start the music back. DJ, play that song. Play that song again, but of course, I don't get what I want. I wanted that song to stop. But the match started with, ladies and gentlemen, shit's about to hit the fan. And then, no, at least they didn't lie. It did hit the fan. It was people all over the place. It was all kind of shit happening. This was a very, if you like hardcore shit in the Attitude Era, that's what this was. It was just a bunch of tables breaking and barbed wire and guys fighting backstage. There was no story. There was no narrative to this thing. It was just guys punching each other and falling all over the place. It was all right. It was fun for the most part. I just think it went too long. Like this, by this point, the show's already been on for what, 2 hours at this point? 2.5 hours, maybe 3 almost. At this point, this show was too long. So at this point, I'm like, all right, can we push through some of this shit? This match seemed to be going on for a while. But the biggest problem I have with this match is I didn't get time to really let things sit. So like, there was the big spot where, 2 guys jump off a ladder through tables on 2 other guys. 2 seconds, you got to process that, then it cuts somewhere else. Then I think Santana and Ortiz did like a net breaker through a table on somebody. You got 2 seconds to get what that was, and then you cut to something else. And it's like, oh shit, we're just cutting back and forth. And they were cutting so much that I think half the match was over before I even realized Jake Hager was even in the match. I was like, is he even in this match? And they were like, yeah, he's right here. I'm like, oh shit. Like, it's people all over the place. They're jumping all over the place. They're jumping off everything. They're fighting on everything. And it was an attempt to bring in some of the brawling style of Memphis and ECW and the Attitude Era and all that kind of stuff into one match. And I was like, okay, but I think I've kind of gone beyond the desire for this shit. Like, to me, there was no story behind any of this shit. Like Blackpool Combat Club got shoehorned into this. The feuds between Kingston and Jericho, or Kingston and his crew and Jericho and his crew. It could have been a 6-man tag. It didn't need to be 10. And then you take Moxley and Danielson and Jericho, who are your three top guys, three of your biggest free agent signings of the last 2 or 3 years, and you put them in one fucking match. Oh, okay, But the match was fine. Somebody got stabbed with a fork. Everybody was bleeding, which is what I said. Everybody was going to bleed. Great visual with Eddie Kingston walking like one of the zombies from The Walking Dead. He's got a gas can. After Danielson and Moxley have, sufficiently pounded, I believe it was Jericho and Hager, into, basically turning them into sausages. Jericho is in the label lock when Kingston comes over with his gas can, rips it open, and starts pouring gas all over Jericho while he's in this lock, which means he's also pouring gas on Danielson. Danielson and Kingston get into a fight, and I'm just like, okay, we just did this. Now, we just did this in the 6-man tag. We just did this in the 6-man tag. We just did this, where these partners are fighting each other, and that leads to their downfall. Jericho and I believe it was Hager. They isolated Danielson. They hit him in the knee with the turnbuckle, the little metal part of the turnbuckle. Jericho with the walls of Jericho. Hager strangled him with the rope. Great finish, great visual with the finish. And Danielson cannot recover. Referee stoppage. Jericho Appreciation Society defeated Blackpool Combat Club, Eddie Kingston, and Santana and Ortiz. And I just say, Santana and Ortiz, they can't buy a win. They can't buy one. You could put them on sale and they can't afford it. These guys never fucking win anything. Like, if Santana and Ortiz are involved, they fucking lose. How could you book them to lose to the fucking 2.0 guys who are a fucking joke? Like, I don't get it. Now, maybe they'll do the Blackpool Combat Club versus Jericho Appreciation Society and they'll get that win back. And maybe, even Kingston and his boys will get their win back in a 6-man tag type of situation. But this was, I know a lot of people are very excited about this. I'm just kind of like, I'm over it. I've seen a lot of this shit all the time. As far as we're just going to fight everywhere, cut on the camera. TNA used to do this shit all the time too. It's old school Attitude Era stuff. It's not really my bag. It is what it is. If you enjoyed it, great. But I was just kind of like, this show is too long. I don't care about this shit. There's no stakes. There's nothing in this that makes it matter to me. There's no story. There's no stakes. There's just guys throwing each other through tables. Like, okay, sure. Go for it. And for like sort of dumb fun match, yeah, it was fine. But would I watch it again? Probably not. And I don't remember any of the spots in it because there were so many spots. It was people all over the place. So there was no narrative structure to be had. And there was no structure period to be had. And I know it's supposed to be anarchy. It's like, yeah, but wrestling is about storytelling. It's not about, guys pouring mustard all over each other. That's a byproduct of the story that we're supposed to be telling here. And we got too far away from it because the storyline was between Jericho and Kingston. So I think Jericho and Kingston should have been in the finish. Even though Kingston did kind of influence the finish with his issues with Danielson, him sort of costing the team the win. But to me, it just made no sense. And then Jericho didn't throw a fireball, so he didn't even do his wizardry in this match. So, whatever. Have at it if you enjoyed that kind of stuff. I was just kind of like, not really for me. All right, Andrade El Idolo, look at me, I'm Mr. Charlotte Flair. Congratulations to Andrade on finding the love of his life. His homeboy Roosh finally coming into AEW. Him and Roosh have been scheming on places they can work for a long time. Roosh, if you don't know, is probably the founding father of Los Ingobernables, him and Andrade. They are the two. So if you ever heard of Tetsuya Naito and Los Ingobernables de Japón, or La Facción Ingobernables in Ring of Honor, with his brothers, Dragon Lee, and I forget the brother's name. What was it? Shit. It's something like Dragon. It's, I forget. It's in AAA. But the brothers Lee are really good. And Roosh is their older brother, I think. So they're really good. They're phenomenal. Dragon Lee is phenomenal. Like, he is truly phenomenal. I don't think he speaks English at all. Roosh's English is not very good either. But WWE actually wanted to sign Roosh. And Andrade told him not to sign there because his English wasn't good. And this was around the time that Andrade wanted out of WWE. So Roosh was having some problems. I think he was having some issues in Ring of Honor. Or, CMLL was an issue too, because that's where he worked. And he wanted to come to the United States, on a permanent basis. And he was working at Ring of Honor at the time. And I think Andrade was kind of like, don't come to the WWE. Like, don't come here. My English, not good. And so Roosh stayed in Ring of Honor until it closed. And I think he was hurt when it closed. So he wasn't, around for like the last couple of events and everything. So now he's been introduced as Andrade's business partner because the AFO sucks. It was a bad idea. And I was like, yeah, we kind of told you that from the beginning, that it sucks, sir. But, we don't speak El Idolo. We don't speak that. So you wasn't listening to us. When we was telling you Private Party sucks ass, Blade and Butcher, why would you even have these guys around? They aren't fit to shine your shoes. So, but Los Ingobernables, so we can almost guarantee that we're going to get some Los Ingobernables Bullet Club stuff. This is probably going to lead into the Forbidden Door show, where it may be the AAA, or not AAA, but the CMLL version of Los Ingobernables versus the Japan version of Los Ingobernables, or they might form some kind of super Los Ingobernables. That might be interesting. The Ungovernables, for those of you who don't know. You might say, Mongo, you're a dork. Why do you even know about Roosh and all this kind of stuff? Like, hey, bro, I filter this information that I pick up. I filter it out and I bird feed it to people. I don't expect you to know this shit. Why would you know this? Why would you care about Roosh? He's good. He's not like, the biggest star in Mexico. That's Psycho Clown, but I'm pretty sure AAA is going to hold on to Psycho Clown. They're not going to let that one happen. But Roosh was up there for a while. He was pretty big. Him and Andrade were pretty big. They became big stars in Japan too. But Roosh was a guy that WWE was after. And due to the way they treat luchadors, Andrade did not give them the thumbs up for it to go over there. And plus, he wanted out. So, but they were trying to work together. That was my point of going into that whole thing. They wanted to work together. And I thought maybe Andrade would go work for Ring of Honor when he left WWE. And he, of course, went into AEW. And now he's pulled Roosh in. So they could be a fantastic tag team. The two of them. Man, that could be tremendous. I don't want them as a tag team because I like them both as solo stars. But if that's what it takes, is for them to be a tag team in order for both of them to shine, go for it. But I'm more interested in Dragon Lee coming in because he's tremendous. I'm talking next level. Really good. That's wrestling though. His English is probably shit. He's Mexican. So don't expect too much from the English. But the guy looks great. He looks a little bit like Ultimo Dragon. Like his mask and everything. But he's a phenomenal wrestler. All of the Roosh's entire family except for his dad. His dad's kind of old. But they were good, in Ring of Honor. So hopefully they can make the transition to AEW and still be kind of good. Because Andrade needs it. He's been in real trouble since he came over. It has not been going well for Andrade, El Idolo. It hasn't been looking good. Speaking of not looking good, Keith Lee versus Keith Lee, Swerve Strickland versus Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Jurassic Express. Another match that should not have been on this show. We could have pushed this to Dynamite. Ricky Starks landed on his head again, and I was ready to turn this show off at that point because I thought he was dead. He fell on his head again, and I was like, bro, what the fuck? How many times are people going to fall on their head on this show? And this guy just had a neck injury. He just had a neck injury. I'm like, man, these dudes wilding, man. They're wilding. Swerve does a moonsault off of Lee, off of his chest. But at this point, I was kind of out of moonsault. So, like, I've been watching moonsaults all night, man. At this point, bro, we're 3 hours into the show. We're over 3 hours into the show. All right? I'm burnt out. I'm tired of seeing moonsaults. I'm tired of everything under the sun. You know, I'm tired of looking at this shit completely. Ricky Starks is trying to be entertaining. You know, showing some charisma, showing some personality, which is good. It kept me engaged. Powerhouse Hobbs didn't look too bad. Keith Lee, he nailed his over the top rope thing. He didn't botch it like Brody King did. Brody King ate the ring apron. You know, almost killed himself, because that's what big guys do. Apparently, we're all luchadors now. You know, the slingshot Rochambeau was a great near fall, but Jurassic Express wins the match in the end. Big whoop. There's nothing you can do to make Jurassic Express interesting at this point. You just can't do it. You're failing to make them interesting at this point. So, it's going to go into the feud with the Hardy Boys, no doubts, so Christian can get some heat by shit-talking the Hardys. Which ought to be fine, I guess, for, you know, nostalgia purposes. Because AEW, at least, is like 40% nostalgia at this point. They used to be like, you know, 20% nostalgia. Now I think they've doubled their nostalgia. They're like 40% nostalgia now. Alright, Hangman Page versus CM Punk for the AEW World Title. CM Punk wins with the GTS. Now, Page says that in the vignette, they tried to plug the hole by saying Hangman Page knows the kind of place this could become if he, meaning Punk, was at the top. Still don't know what that means, but at least it's some color to, you know, he doesn't think that CM Punk is a worthy flag bearer for AEW. So they have this match. CM Punk is taking a tremendous amount of punishment. He botches the buckshot lariat twice. It looks absolutely awful. Every time he did it, it looked worse. It was a physical match and a lot of hard chops back and forth. It was okay. The Deadeye kick out was very good. It was very good kick out. CM Punk needs to get some credit for that. That was a 2.999999 kick out. That was very good. There was the buckshot lariat, but a ref bump earlier in the match. Page gets the belt and he rubs it in Punk's face and says, you know, this is mine. You'll never have it. So the ref is down. The belt is in the corner and Page goes and grabs the belt and he's going to hit Punk with the belt. He's so enraged by Punk for some reason that it was apparently a secret that he's going to hit Punk with the belt. And he thinks about it, and he thinks about it, and he thinks about it, and he decides not to. He puts the belt down. He then jumps back over the top rope because he got to do the buckshot layer. You have to flip over the rope. He flips over the rope just as the referee is coming to. He throws the lariat. CM Punk ducks it, grabs the wrist. GTS 1, 2, 3. So it was Hangman Page's hesitation that cost him the match. Hangman Page loses. Now, if you've been keeping track, we're at like 7 or 8 tributes through this show. This is tribute number 9. This finish came from WrestleMania 8, Roddy Piper versus Bret the Hitman Hart for the Intercontinental Championship. Roddy Piper gets the ring bell. He threatens to hit Bret Hart with the ring bell. Bret's like, no, don't hit me. And the crowd is telling Roddy Piper, no, don't hit Bret with the belt. Don't do it. Don't hit him with the bell. Roddy Piper is like, okay, I won't hit him with the bell. Put the bell down. Goes to pick him up, gets hit with a small package and pinned. All they did was change the finish a little bit by having Page go for the buckshot lariat and get GTS instead. I preferred the original. All right, just beat him with a small package, out wrestle him, you know, and having him do that unnecessary flip over the top rope. But I guess that was the part of trying to hide the finish. Because, you know, everybody would have, you know, AEW knows that their fans are super knowledgeable, or at least the people watching that will get this deep into the show will be super knowledgeable about, you know, what they're doing. And maybe they was trying to outsmart everybody by saying, oh, well, you guys are expecting a small package, but we're not going to give you a small package. We're going to give you a GTS. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. It's still another Bret Hart finish. The second Bret Hart finish stolen tonight, though, because WrestleMania 10 was used, tonight. And it was just like, okay. So CM Punk wins. It was the right decision. I do have to beg the question, what would have happened if at the end of WrestleMania 37, Edge was the WWE champion? How would people be responding? Everybody would have said Vince only cares about old guys. He doesn't care about building any new stars, yada, yada, yada. But this was the right decision because Adam Page is an absolute flop as world champion. He was an absolute flop. I know some people might be fans of him. If you were a fan of his, I'm sorry to tell you, but Adam Page was an absolute bona fide flop as a world champion. The needle wasn't moving. Nobody was interested in anything he was doing. Nobody was interested in anything he did. I'm sorry. He sucked. All right? It just is what it is. Now, AEW is about to become the Bret Hart Appreciation Fed. Because the first guys that's come out there to celebrate with CM Punk is FTR. So we already know it's about to be on and popping. They're about to start stealing Bret Hart finishes from 1995 house shows and stuff like that. I mean, that's just what they do. In any event, it was the right decision. Summer of Punk 3. The first Summer of Punk when he won the Ring of Honor title. The second is when he won the WWE title at Money in the Bank. This is the third AEW World title at Double or Nothing. I'm guessing we're probably going to turn Punk heel. I'm guessing that's what's about to happen here. They've been teasing it for a little while. They teased it in, Long Island, where he got put in the Katacha Hajime by Hook. They was teasing CM Punk turning heel, but it might have just been, where they were. We're in, I think, Long Island, New York, or something like that. Bizarro land for AEW. In any event, I think they are teasing a heel turn, maybe testing the waters for a heel turn. But CM Punk as babyface champion could work, but you gotta have a hot heel, and I don't think they have one right now. Who do they got for him to feud with? MJF is apparently about to be gone, and plus he just feuded with CM Punk. Who else you got? Good luck finding somebody else. Maybe Adam Cole. We just beat him too. So I don't know who they gonna have him feud with, but him being the champion is a smart decision. I said that already, but Paige, awful, absolutely awful as champion. I hope now that CM Punk is the champion, though, that people actually criticize him more, because now he's in a more prominent position. Like, he's already had his own little side thing going on. And people were just kind of like, I'm just so happy to see CM Punk back. We need to break that veneer for all of the people in the media and all them. I'm just so happy CM Punk is back. It's like, okay, he's not only back, but he's now the world champion. Get the fuck over it. Take your Mark glasses off. And now let's actually look at some of the work that he's doing, which is actually, okay. It's not terrible. But it ain't to the standard that we know CM Punk, 7 or 8 years ago. He's not as washed as the Hardy Boys are, but he ain't far off. Overall, I think this was a weak show. It was entirely too long. There's probably 5 or 6 matches I would have cut off the show, personally. But some of the booking decisions are obviously pretty wonky. The MJF thing left a lot of bad taste in people's mouths. But it is what it is. MJF, you did the right thing by having Wardlow go over strong. You could have cut out, again, 4 or 5 matches from this show and it would have been really solid. But to me, it was kind of like, it was alright. Let me know what you guys think. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out. I can now go to bed. Fuck.